Hi everyone, this is Carolyn, and today we are doing some Bible journaling on the scripture Romans 1:20, and I will read it in the New Living Translation. It says, "For ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, so they have no excuse for not knowing God." And I'm doing some white gesso over the page just to cover up that big title of Romans. And this will be different because I'm using some watercolor on the page. And so it'll be interesting to see how the watercolor is different with gesso underneath. I'm using the kit By the Well for God Temptation, and it comes with little watercolor samples. And I think these are really nice watercolors. It did really act differently with the gesso on top because it didn't soak really into the paper. So it just kind of sat on top, it's just an interesting little difference. You don't usually see people doing watercolor on top of gesso, but this was interesting. I thought it came out really beautifully. I just kind of did different colors and then I used some water to mix it all in. Sometimes you can spray the top of the page and then mix watercolors in that way, or just put water on the page with your brush before. But this time I just uh, blended it with water after I put it on. This verse means so much to me because we can see God's, his divine nature through creation. Um, in the NIV, it says or the ESV, sorry, it says you can see his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature can be clearly perceived. I wrote down some other scriptures that point to what God has created, and Deuteronomy 4:19, and these are in the New Living Translation. It says, "When you look up into the sky and see the sun, moon, and stars, all the forces of heaven, don't be seduced into worshiping them. The Lord your God gave them to all the peoples of the earth." So it's saying that all of these things that he made, he gave it to them. Ooh, and this purple. I just love how this purple came out. Put it just on the page and then blend it right into all the other colors, making sort of a rainbow creation. And a lot of times you'll see people doing watercolor and then they'll dry some of the colors first and then put color over the top. But I wanted it all to kind of blend it together, and that's why I didn't dry it as I was going. So we're drying again, and then we're going to come in with some of these kit attributes. And I love this. I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm going to call it washi, the washi tape over the top with these pretty beautiful flowers. And I was thinking, you can see God's creation in the flowers. And flowers are talked about in the Bible so much. I can't remember which verse it talked about, but it was talking about Solomon and God dresses the flowers. I'll put the scripture on the screen. So many times in the Bible, flowers are referenced, and God has used flowers to speak to even my heart on many, many occasions. Another verse that I looked up was Psalm 8:3 in the New Living Translation. It says, "When I look at the night sky and see the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars you set in place." Isn't it amazing how each star and the moon and the sun, that whole system, were just set in place Now I'm going through and I'm looking at some of the ephemera from this kit and just pulling it out and deciding which one I want to start with. And I love this paper, and I think I might do something with this paper in a later journal, but for this one I already had the watercolor down. And I love the colors. I love how they pick out the watercolor samples that they give you to match the colors of the kit. It just works so beautifully. So I'm using Tombow adhesive and just putting this down, and then I'm going to use a bench sticker, and that's representing just sitting and thinking about God's creation, just resting and knowing that in everything God has made, He has a plan for our lives too. So I was just thinking about how systematic, how delicate, how beautiful God makes things, and that if you read in the Old Testament, when the tabernacle was built, He called for skilled workers. And that is just a shadow of what is really in heaven. So God is such a skilled craftsman in all that He does, and even in our lives. And here I'm picking out the stamp stickers. They're so beautiful. And then I realized that they actually have verses on them. So I was like, oh, which verse is Romans 1:20? And there it was. So then I'm going to put some birds on the top, because God has spoken to me through birds in amazing ways. There's just been times where birds have shown up uh, just in such a way that He has been speaking to my heart, and then I'll see a bird, um, especially a certain kind of bird. So then I thought I would write the scripture and some of the things that it meant to me uh, with this micron pen, but then I decided I'm gonna highlight the verse Romans 1:20 in this Bible. And someone asked me, do I use a different Bible for my study? And the answer is yes. I only use this illustrating Bible. This is an illustrating Bible, and I only use this for my Bible journaling. I will highlight the verse that I am journaling on, and then I'll journal through it. But in my own devotions, in my own study, I have a different Bible altogether that I work with. So then I pulled out this bridge ephemera, and I'm going to put that down. And then I decided I would I'll put a label underneath it, and I will write Romans 1:20. I'm not going to write the verse out, the whole verse out, but I'm going to write what Romans 1:20 means to me on this little label, because I have the actual verse highlighted on the side. So it says that I can see God. I can see God in what He has made. And isn't that it's just so amazing how even in our own lives, when we feel things are a mess, that He can bring beauty out of the ashes that we've been in. And now I'm just writing. I'm taking a micron pen. This is a micron Pigma pen, because this pen will not bleed. It doesn't smudge. It's acid free. It's a great little pen. And I'm writing, for me personally, things that where I have seen God, where I can see Him in His creation. So some of the things that I wrote were the ocean, the birds, the sky, the sunset, the flowers, the hills. We can see God in a new baby. The grass, eagles. Eagles are one that the Lord has spoken to me through a lot of the times. The moon, mountains, how He has directed my steps, the valleys, the little things, the ways He answers our prayers. And then I wrote on the side there, I wrote, be still today and think on all his ways and the way that you see him. So this is my journaling page for Romans 1:20. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more Bible journaling videos.